in terms of where live goes, what's kind of next, David, in terms of the...
I think more of what we're doing. We've obviously just started out on the live video journey. We're thinking about, as I mentioned earlier, what content is going to be kind of most compelling for that. And I think we are also thinking about discoverability and how we make it easy for users to find that live content. So to Alex's point earlier, it's one thing to have it, but you have to invite people to the party. And also we're thinking about the experience they get when they're actually using the product. So the tweets they're getting in their timeline. Actually, we've done some very interesting analysis about the different types of tweet, putting them into different categories, and basically ensuring that there's a nice balance of those tweets, not in terms of sentiment, but in terms of a type of kind of construct that they are. So we're thinking about all of that, and more broadly what we're doing is we're just offering up more and more video products for brands to kind of connect with this very kind of influential audience that we've got. So we're very, very excited about kind of the future and where all that goes. We, as Jerry said, need to kind of overcome this perception that it's your kind of reactive kind of go-to place for organic daily content, and just help brands and help agencies to kind of really see the potential that's there.
Yeah, because if there is one thing which is the opposite of longevity and really burns marketers out, it's that sense that to do live and to be part of these spaces, you have to be in a room with your legal team and your creatives and creating everything in the moment. And of course, there are examples when that's paid off and worked well. There are far, far more examples where that's disappeared without a trace and no one's noticed it, especially if people haven't put media behind it and backed it. And I think live is a place, especially with some of this creative, when you know broadly what's going to happen, you know kind of what's going to happen in an NFL game. You could make your ads seem quite live and reactive to that experience and have them in the can weeks beforehand. Or, they don't even have to reflect exactly what's happening in that experience, as long as they're kind of relevant to the audience and the people who you know are going to be watching it. So, yeah, definitely don't get caught up on having to do like a war room. Those are real, like, exceptional one-off kind of things.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the beauty of something like this, where you've got that opportunity to plan in advance. You don't want you guys to go great so quickly. That's the key, isn't it? But is there, if you had to look at, and we had a bit of fun earlier before we sat down, if there was one particular live event, obviously Joe, we know yours is Eurovision. Only joking. It could be.
No, it is.
You can have another one if you had to choose. It really is. If you had to choose one other event, it could be global, it could be UK, that you would really love to see put into this environment and utilise basically from a personal and a brand, a client perspective, if you like. What would it be? I'll start with you, Jerry.
Well, you've stolen my good idea. I don't know. For me, it's back to the point I made about House of Cards. I think it'll be interesting to see what formats and ideas and things come out of this that isn't an existing event, or it's an existing event that isn't covered on TV, mainstream, like Bex was saying earlier. In some ways, I think, there obviously is value and use in like mirroring what's on TV. But I think, in a couple of years' time, we'll look back on this and there'll be show formats and ideas, and maybe they won't be a 60-minute show. Maybe it'll be like a 10-minute live show that's, really interactive and really interesting. And for me, that's very exciting, very interesting. I'd probably be more interested in watching something like that. Still people are going to watch a lot of stuff on telly. So you have to think about what's different, what's unique. And thus, just like the people in the debate last night, I have not answered your question.
That's good. A very political answer. I like that. Rebecca, what about yourself?
I think for me, it would be around that whole sort of live music festival space. I think, we know how many people tune in and watch Glastonbury on the BBC every year.
Yes.
There are so many wonderful live events that only 20,000, 100,000, 150,000 people get to go to, that it almost seems that they're prime and they're ready to be surfaced for a mass market. And they've got intrigue, they've got talent in abundance, they've got multiple different reasons for people to tune in, whether it's Madonna as a headliner on one or Radiohead on the other side. So I think those sorts of things for me are very interesting, and they're not big Eurovision-y type events. There's lots of them, there's lots of frequency in them, and there's lots of variety in them in terms of the different reasons people would tune in.
I think, so I mentioned earlier, sport, politics, entertainment. I think live entertainment is a really interesting area, and you can all think of the shows that are on live as entertainment. And that's not to say that it's our kind of policy to go after those, make that clear. But I think what's interesting is the point about how potentially a new format could spring up out of this. Because if you were hosting a live entertainment format and you had the tweets and you could respond to what's happening on the tweets in the show, and then it could all come around again, that's potentially quite interesting. And I think a number of kind of content creators, TV production companies have tried that with some success with TV and Twitter. Bringing everything into one feed could be even more interesting in that space.
I remember the Prometheus ad. That was my still one of my favourite ones. I did enjoy that.
Yeah. But even things like I think it was what was that show? Celeb Juice. did a
yes.
live show, and
Yes.
that was all about Twitter. I mean, literally the whole thing was. I think Keith Lemon mentioned Twitter 30 times, and Holly Willoughby did a selfie that she posted on Twitter, and then said that if enough people liked it or retweeted it, she would then do something on the show. So that was all. Literally, they were having their phones out, watching what was going on, and that sort of content in that live feed environment could be really compelling.
Absolutely. And Alex,
So from a personal one, I'd love to see more niche sports, so British athletics, things like that. I find it really frustrating that it's only once or twice a year that these big events
Yes.
get posted on TV. So it'd be really nice to see a lot more of that playing into those sort of almost mass niche audiences on Twitter. And then also I think something like Secret Cinema, or some of those sort of other, almost to the festival point, those sort of outdoor cinema events. It might be quite nice to sort of really sort of generate a bit more noise around that and get sort of more of a community around that can't actually attend at the time.
some good ideas in there. I think David's mentally
steal
making
them.
notes there, which is great. I suppose one other point I wanted to pick up on, which kind of Jerry alluded to earlier, was the Netflix point and the House of Cards point. I suppose, David, from a Twitter perspective, is there potentially not this year, not next year, but maybe in years to come, an opportunity for Twitter to create its own live events and its own content in that sense?
Yeah, you think about blankety blank, can't you?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
No,
You got X and blank Y earlier, so you know.
You have to follow David on Twitter to find out what that's about.
I can't believe I just plugged blank to blank, which is played on Twitter every Friday morning. Do tune in tomorrow.
It's a very good show.
Potentially, it's certainly not something we're thinking about now.
Okay.
But yeah, you 2-3 years down the line, you wouldn't rule it out, but it's not the priority at the moment. We're working with content partners in a whole number of areas without doing it ourselves. So.
But as I said earlier, I think it's a very exciting field, and I think from an industry perspective, it's certainly going to help drive brands into more forward-thinking, creatives into thinking more innovatively, and hopefully help push the industry into the right place over the next couple of years. So thank you very much, panel.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
A round of applause
Thanks for the
for
pastries.
Jerry, Rebecca, David, and Alex.
Thank you.
I'll do it myself. Yeah. There we go.